Attorney General Garth Wilkin has fired warning shots at those in public positions who abuse their power, get involved in corrupt practices, and those he describes as being unfriendly to the public treasury. Speaking at St. Kitts and Nevis Youth Parliament Association Skn Youth Forum this week, AG Wilkin was asked about what actions can be taken against persons who abuse their power while in public office. This was his response.
Decisions to prosecute for crimes under our Constitution is solely within the purview of the Director of Public Prosecutions. Governments can't decide whether to prosecute previous governments. For minor infractions, we can take persons before the Public Service Commission so that with the evidence that we have, and they could potentially be removed from the public service. Today, well, after yesterday and some things that I discovered, I might be publicly embarrassing some people, which might actually be worse than going to prison. I'm contemplating whether I should do that, and I'm minded more so about 70-30 to embarrass some people who might not have been corrupt, but were, I don't want to use the word I used earlier, but not very friendly towards our treasury, and I'm not going to tolerate that, and I'm going to embarrass some people. Also, we are considering appointing a special prosecutor that can engage auditors, independent auditors, to investigate some of the statutory corporations, and then that special prosecutor can then prepare reports to present to the DPP, who will then decide whether to prosecute or not. I think it's time we need to draw a line in the sand. And we need to make sure that we have a better country moving forward. I'm not afraid of anybody. And I was saying that straight up. I'm not scared of anybody. I was hired to do a job, and I'm going to do that job. So some people should be shaking in their boots right now.
A day later, after making those remarks, a notice to the public was published on the AG's official Facebook page detailing payments made to a company that provided website and social media management services to the Attorney General's office and the Ministry of Justice and Legal Affairs under the previous administration. Payments were made of over 1.3 million EC dollars for the duration of the contract. The lifetime of the contract was from November 1st, 2019 to August 31st, 2020. The company continued to receive payments of $10,000 per month after the expiration of the contract, the notice continued. The notice disclosed that the services provided by the company will now be performed by the Department of Information Computer Technology. The public was advised to review the Procurement and Contract Administration Act of the Laws of St. Kitts and Nevis, which can be found on lawcommission.gov.kn. The notice concluded that the contract procurement process will be more transparent and strengthened in short order by legislative action. When contacted, the principal of the company refrained from commenting on the matter at this time. I'm Andre Huey for Skn Newsline.
St. Kitts and Nevis Prime Minister Dr. Terence Drew called on United Nations member countries to do more on the multilateral cooperation front and commit to previous climate financial agreements for small island states. Prime Minister Drew made the call at the 77th session of the United Nations General Assembly. He told UN developed member countries that for small island developing states, as well as for all vulnerable people, there could not be international security without climate security. According to Dr. Drew, the time is now to act on the climate-related issues affecting small island developing states, calling on the developed countries to honor the commitments made in a previous climate conference to enable vulnerable countries to address climate-related issues.
I humbly urge countries to honor the financial commitments made before the COP26 to double contribution to adaptation financing by 2025. A delayed response to these commitments would further imperil our developing nations. Climate financing, resiliency, and environmental conservation must be integrated into national development policies and must be at the forefront of our global development agenda. Mr. President, this situation cries out for the multilateral system to urgently put in place a multidimensional vulnerability index which takes into consideration the peculiar characteristics and climate vulnerabilities of small island developing states such as mine. Mr. President, All countries are environmentally vulnerable. All are socially and economically exposed to the exogenous shock. But in the climate challenge, tourism-dependent countries in the Caribbean Sea, during several consecutive months of every year, run the real risk of a wipeout event. Surely this warrants special consideration.
Small island developing states want the current GDP-based country indexing system to be replaced by a multi-dimensional vulnerability index that gives a fairer picture of a country's development status. Glenn Bart reporting for Skn Newsline.
Your vehicle is very important to you. That's why you should ensure it gets the best service and care possible only at IAS Diagnostic Center, located at Bird Rock behind the Life Fitness Center gym. Come to IAS Diagnostic Center for wheel alignment, rotor cutting, AC servicing, wheel balancing, oil filter change, diagnostic, tire repair and sale, tinting, and much more. With top-of-the-line equipment, come to IAS Diagnostic Center in Bird Rock. Opening hours Monday to Friday 8 a.m. to 4 p.m. and Saturdays 8 a.m. to 1 p.m. Call 767-4422, 662-4416 or 466-6708. IAS Diagnostic Center for quality care of your vehicle.
Smart and Island Electronics brings to you the Super Summer Cool-On Sale from July 21st until October 30th. Get amazing discounts on the widest range of gadgets, electronics, and appliances. But because it's summer, you get double discounts on all fans, refrigerators, and air conditioners. And don't forget to ask about our easy layaway plans. Good news for the people of Neves. Smart Electronics is coming to Neves at a convenient location just opposite Best Buy. So visit our stores at Smart Electronics on Port Zonte and Island Electronics on Ford Street. Terms and conditions apply. All COVID-19 protocols will be observed.
The Skn Newsline website now offers you more news. Log on to www.sknnewsline.com for local, regional, and international news. You can also watch the latest newscast and keep abreast with news in sports, all from sknnewsline.com. That's www.sknnewsline.com. News at your fingertips.
St. Kitts and Nevis' Prime Minister Dr. Terence Drew joined other leaders in New York City at a meeting of the Alliance of Small Island States, AOSIS, that was addressed by the United Nations Secretary General Antonio Guterres. The 22nd September AOSIS leaders meeting was convened on the margins of the 77th United Nations General Assembly and was held on the theme Champion Our Own Solutions, with a proposed Multi-Vulnerability Index, or MVI, at the center of the discussions. Small island states are pushing for the adoption of an MVI to replace the current GDP-based index, which is felt gives a distorted view of the development of small island nations and territories, and which is devoid of the impact of climate change that have been triggered by industrialized countries. In addressing the AOSIS leaders, Secretary General Guterres told leaders they have his full support and said, quote, "The Multidimensional Vulnerability Index is a critical tool and it must be deployed. The Alliance of Small Island States has long championed the highest levels of ambition on climate, often leading by example. You have also brought solutions and built consensus. Your voices as climate leaders, problem solvers, and bridge builders are needed now more than ever," end quote. Caribbean community member countries are advocating for developed industrialized nations to take full responsibility for the climate change threats facing the globe, and for them to stand by their previous commitments to provide small island states with the financial resources needed to deal with climate change threats and damage being caused as a result of global warming. Glenn Bart reporting for Skn Newsline.
Zona Hamilton, the woman from Barnesgut, Nevis, who was reported missing Friday night, was found dead on Saturday morning in the area where she was last seen. Media reports suggest a joint team found Zona's body in a car at the top of Government Road. Before her body was found, the 43-year-old woman was last seen at 1 a.m. on Government Road in Charlestown, Nevis on September 21st and was subsequently reported missing. It was reported that Hamilton's body was found partially decomposed. Anyone with information on this incident is asked to contact the Charlestown Police Station at 469-5391, their nearest police station, or the crime hotline at 707. More on this as information becomes available. Elected representative for St. Thomas's, Cleone Stapleton Simmons, expressed shock and dismay at the news of Hamilton's passing. In a post on her Facebook page, the politician said, "I am deeply saddened by her passing. She will surely be missed." I'm Andre Huey for Skn Newsline. Your vehicle is very important to you. That's why you should ensure it gets the best service and care possible only at IAS Diagnostic Center, located at Bird Rock behind the Life Fitness Center gym. Come to IAS Diagnostic Center for wheel alignment, rotor cutting, AC servicing, wheel balancing, oil filter change, diagnostic, tire repair and sale, tinting, and much more. With top-of-the-line equipment, come to IAS Diagnostic Center in Bird Rock. Opening hours Monday to Friday, 8 a.m. to 4 p.m. and Saturdays, 8 a.m. to 1 p.m. Call 767-4422, 662-4416, or 466-6708. IAS Diagnostic Center for quality care of your vehicle.
Smart and Island Electronics brings to you the Super Summer Kulong Sale from July 21st until October 30th. Get amazing discounts on the widest range of gadgets, electronics, and appliances. But because it's summer, you get double discounts on hall fans, refrigerators, and air conditioners. And don't forget to ask about our easy layaway plans. Good news for the people of Nevis. Smart Electronics is coming to Nevis at a convenient location just opposite Best Buy. So visit our stores at Smart Electronics on Port Zonte and Island Electronics on Ford Street. Terms and conditions apply. All COVID-19 protocols will be observed.
Online radio has never been this great. It's Voice of the Caribbean Radio at voiceofthecaribbean.net. Tune into Voice of the Caribbean Radio for great Caribbean programs, news, entertainment, sports, and current affairs. Wake up each morning and be inspired with One Day at a Time with Kim Huey. Stay abreast with news across the Caribbean and internationally with the Caribbean News Hour, and be entertained with shows like Reggaeville, Caribbean Classics, and Jive Music Show. Visit our website, download our Android mobile app, or listen us on TuneIn Radio. There is so much more on Voice of the Caribbean Radio, reaching the Caribbean and beyond. Check website or app for program schedule.
Auto Plus Car Wash, located on the Collins Street Gut, Bastille, St. Kitts. Bring your car to Auto Plus Car Wash to remove water stains, wiper marks. Get your doors, roof panel cleaned, seat floor mats, buffing, headlights, and engine wash. You get quality service at the best price at Auto Plus Car Wash. They really care for your car. Call 765-5140 or visit them on the Collins Street Gut, Bastille, St. Kitts. Auto Plus Car Wash, where the service is number one.
Can you believe all the ings we can fit under one roof? We're here to help your small business any way we can.
Five days since Hurricane Fiona swept over Puerto Rico, bringing with it over 2 feet of rain, over 1 million people are still without water. Trucks carrying donated drinking water lined the streets in 18 oases across the island, with people in long queues waiting to receive their allotment of the needed commodity. A woman waiting for water told reporters she needed a shot of patriotism to find the strength to repeat the process after she had waited on Tuesday and was told there was no water left until the next day when another truck would become available. Even people who were ahead of her in line had become exhausted and left as they grew impatient. Some were discouraged by the lengthy queue and decided to utilize a nearby makeshift spring someone had set up using a bamboo pipe to collect fresh water flowing down the mountainside. Another person in line told reporters he and his partner were there to receive aid because they could no longer afford to buy water, which they had been doing since the storm hit. Meanwhile, a retiree who had just moved back to the island from Massachusetts 6 months ago questioned whether he had made the right choice in returning, adding that he might leave again. Some chastised the government for not mobilizing sufficient assistance. Many waiting in line for water also did not have electricity and were concerned whether it would be a repeat of the situation post-Hurricane Maria. Many waiting in line for water also did not have electricity and were concerned about whether this would be a repeat of the situation post-Hurricane Maria. Although only 4 deaths have thus far been attributed to Fiona in Puerto Rico, one resident called the current situation worse than the aftermath of Maria, which ravaged the island in 2017, killing 3,000 and causing an 11-month blackout in some places. Since then, the power grid has been patched up but never fully restored to pre-Maria conditions, and Hurricane Fiona once again laid waste to the island's electricity system. Government officials reported that approximately 70% of consumers were without electricity as of Wednesday afternoon. Early in the week, Luma Energy officials had promised that power would be reinstated in a few days, but quickly changed their tune. Now, given the floodwaters that have still not receded in some areas, fallen trees, downed power lines, and deteriorating equipment, there's no timeline for when electricity will be restored for the majority of the island. Those with the equipment and the fuel resorted to generators to power up their homes. Meanwhile, Puerto Rico's major disaster declaration was approved by U.S. President Joe Biden on Wednesday, clearing the way for federal aid to pour in. The U.S. Department of Health and Human Services also declared a public health emergency in the territory. After wreaking havoc on the Dominican Republic and Puerto Rico, Fiona hit the Turks and Caicos Islands as a Category 3 hurricane, downing power lines and triggering major flooding. However, no deaths have been reported, and the TCI deputy governor told the Reuters news agency that an early shelter-in-place order had likely helped to save lives. After leaving the TCI, Fiona brushed past Bermuda with the eye of the storm tracking west of the tiny British overseas territory. Despite not receiving a direct hit, wind gusts of over 100 miles per hour battered the country, leaving over 80% of residents without electricity on Friday morning. Fiona is, as of the 2 p.m. update from the National Hurricane Center, a Category 4 hurricane barreling up towards the east coast of Canada. Hurricane conditions in Atlantic Canada are expected to begin from tonight.
A routine flight from Montserrat's John A. Osborne Airport to VC Bird International quickly turned into an emergency when the plane developed mechanical problems. Captain Jamela Jeffrey was forced to declare an emergency landing. Inspector Lester Baggott of the fire department says Captain Jeffrey reported the right side engine of the aircraft began leaking oil 3 minutes into the flight, which resulted in that engine being shut down. Mary Irene Dorset was one of 6 passengers aboard the aircraft.
I didn't see what was happening because I was in the middle, but I heard one of the guys screaming and calling on the pilot, telling her the engine is on fire. And then the lady that was next to him tell him, calm down, calm down. Then I started to pray because I'm a praying person.
While the emergency response team was in place, they were not called into action because Captain Jeffrey guided the aircraft safely to runway 7. She is being praised by the passengers.
After a while, I see flames. I say, pilot, the plane is on fire. They say, keep calm, keep calm. I say, okay, I'm keep calm. I take off my shoes, I'm sit down, I'm relax. And I left everything to God to just take it over. Okay. And she did well because after a while we were coming, he was dancing like this because he was sucking, because there's only one engine, no balance.
As soon as I see her on the land, I just give her big thanks. Enough thanks, enough thanks.
She really did a good job by getting this plane over here.
A gunman has opened fire at a school in Russia, killing at least 9 people, 5 of them children. 2 teachers and 2 security guards were also shot dead. Investigators said at least 20 others had been injured during the shooting at a school in the city of Izhevsk in the west-central Russia area. Local officials say the gunman's body was later found. He's believed to have killed himself. His motive remains unknown. Let's speak to the BBC's Sergei Goryashko. Sergei, do we have any further information on this?
Well, according to the local media, we have some updates on the number of victims. So there are 7 children dead and 7 people are also dead. So all in all, it's 14 victims and also dozens of children and teachers from the school are in hospital in intensive care now. So this is one of the deadliest attacks of gunmen on Russian schools, as they have already happened before, but according to the number of victims, this is one of the worst.
And there is no official known motive as yet, is that right?
There were some unofficial reports that this was a white supremacist, some neo-Nazi guy, but actually all we know barely for sure that this person was in his 20s and he used 2 Makarov pistols to carry out his attacks. So it does not look like other attacks on Russian schools, and those cases, the perpetrators used just officially purchased weapons, and you cannot purchase officially a pistol in Russia. So this is another question: where did this person get his weapon to carry out this attack?
And what sort of area is this where this attack happened? How populated is it? What's the population like?
This is quite a big city of Izhevsk. There's actually a military plant there where Kalashnikov weapons are produced, and this is quite a big city, the capital of Udmurtia region. So a quiet place, relatively quiet place. Nothing like that has ever happened there before. Still, as we have seen in the last 5 years, those attacks happen sporadically. So once a year or twice a year, there is a gunman who enters a school and opens fire, kills pupils and teachers. And in most of the cases, there's no clear motive or explanation of why it has been happening, as in some cases the perpetrator takes his own life as well. And this has happened in Izhevsk also.
And we're just hearing, Sergei, that TASS news agency is now reporting that 13 have now died after that shooting. We know, of course, that there were a number of injuries. How secure are schools generally across Russia?
Every time when an attack on a school happens, when a gunman enters a school and opens fire, there are talks among the defense ministries, among the Ministry of Interior, the National Guard, which is responsible for the weapons in Russia, that the schools should be more secure, that there is a need of high security at schools, and probably the guardmen should have weapons as well. But every time actually nothing like that happens, and the attack happens again. So usually there is sometimes there's a guard in school, but he doesn't have a weapon on him, and it makes easier for a perpetrator to enter the building and to carry out his attack.
OK, we'll have to leave it there. Sergei Goryashko, thank you very much indeed. Thank you.
As well as hundreds of gigabytes of documents, the Labour files include audio and video. Among them is a recording of a Zoom meeting. A senior Labour figure speaks to a large group of Black and minority party employees. Years ago, she was injured in a racist attack.
I still look at the scar because it's still there, but I look at it most often in the workplace. I was held to different standards to white men, so I would be asked my opinion and immediately spoken over as I responded. My skin colour gives me visibility, and yet my experience and skills are invisible. And all these things add up to an exclusive, not an inclusive culture.
In Britain, black, Asian and minority ethnic people are known as BAME, and tens of thousands joined the Labour Party after the election of Jeremy Corbyn as leader in 2015.
Assalamu alaikum. Thank you all from all the different communities that have come here tonight.
One of those inspired to join by Corbyn was Marcia Hutchinson. She is elected as a Labour councillor, but her experience troubles her.
I face more racism in my 5 years in the Labour Party than I have in the rest of my life combined.
The Labour files includes unpublished messages from a WhatsApp group of senior management figures in the party. It refers to a black Labour MP who spoke about suffering diabetes.
Diane Abbott's suddenly ill for today's vote, so wasn't able to make it. Ha ha ha.
Doctor's note, please.
She literally makes me sick.
That's an extraordinary thing to say about a Labour MP. It's very, very shocking. And it means that the Labour Party isn't necessarily a safe space for black women.
The former opposition Attorney General, Shami Chakrabarti, is also discussed.
I'm sitting next to Shami for dinner.
Tracy Allen responds with an ice pick emoji. An ice pick was used by the Soviet dictator Joseph Stalin to kill Leon Trotsky. The files include a 100-page dossier that is compiled by a member of the party and sent to the General Secretary. The dossier concerns the rise in the number of Muslims joining the party in an East London borough.
This report describes the activities of a small group of Labour Party members involved in coordinated activities to take over both the constituency parties that make up the London borough of Newham.
The members in Newham were essentially stalked, and for me it posed a significant safety risk because in the dossier was mentioned where members had parked their cars, their car registration numbers, where their children went to school.
It looked like somebody is constantly monitoring me. I'm very upset, and first of all I'm surprised where they're getting this information from, and I'm upset about the children, underage children, being subject to surveillance.
If I was the police, I'd be looking into investigating this dossier because it strongly suggests that the Labour Party has been breaking the law.
The Labour Party says it is establishing an independent process to investigate all complaints of racism, harassment and discrimination. It has implemented codes of conduct on Islamophobia and anti-black racism and had created a diversity and inclusion board. It denies it has been involved in any criminality in Newham. Phil Rees, Al Jazeera, London.
The race for the finals in the Skn Super 6 playoffs is wide open after Salt Island Auto Supply's Connery FC delivered a big 2-0 victory over Hobson Enterprises Garden Hotspurs on Friday night at the Warner Park. Connery left it late, scoring both goals in the 80th minute from Wazim Howe and Kadeen Lewis in the 85th minute. That result has shot Connery to the top of the table with 7 points from 4 matches, with just 1 match remaining in the playoffs. Coach Al Richards said this win puts them in a good position to qualify for the finals of the Super 6.
Yeah, I told them that we got to be patient, and when we get a chance, we have to execute. We got to keep playing the ball in the backs, and we play to get the ball in the back. We got a wonderful pass by Smalley and then back of the net. You know what I mean? But we're a good win for us. Post one step closer to the finals and hope come Tuesday we can pull it off Tuesday against Village and come firmly into the finals. It is a big win because we've been training hard and we really want it. And as I said, the win Tuesday, we actually seal up the whole team for us.
For Coach Austin Huggins, the loss was disappointing, but he believes they are still within touching distance of the finals.
We saw a lot of chances. Had we scored any one of those opportunities, it might have been a total difference in terms that they want to play. But I know we played a very intense game. So I want to congratulate them on the victory, but we should have been a little more stronger defensively.
In the night's earlier match, St. Peter's FC blew a 2-0 first half lead to draw 2-2 with Rams Village Superstars, leaving them without a win so far in the Super 6. MVP of the match, Mackinnon Gums, scored twice for St. Peter's in the 23rd and 31st minute, only for Travis Rogers of Village to score a brilliant diving header to get Village back into the game. In the second half, Kimari Rogers delivered a beautiful cross into the 18-yard box from a free kick, which was connected into the back of the net by Javon Amory in the 80th minute. Village had chances to seal a win but failed to score, with the match ending 2-2. The Super 6 playoffs continue on Tuesday, with crucial matches that could determine finalists for this season. Rams Village Superstars will face Sol Allen Autosupplies Connery FC at 6 p.m. With Connery at the top of the table, a victory would almost be certain to book their spot in the finals. But Village will have a say, as a victory would also put them in a good position to make the finals. In the 8:15 matchup, SL Horses St. Paul's United FC will take on Flow 4G Keon Rockets. Keon is yet to win a match and need to get this one if their campaign is to measure up to expectations. St. Paul's, the defending champions, will be looking to bounce back from only their second loss of the season and the first for the playoffs. Both matches will be at the Warner Park Cricket Stadium Tuesday, September 27th, starting at 6 p.m.
Welcome to the Skn Newsline Weather Report. I am Janil Boone. Here is a look at the forecast for St. Kitts and Nevis. For a more detailed weather report, visit our website at www.sknnewsline.com.